observation, and a truism. The next form of infidelity is emotional infidelity. Emotional infidelity is when you're not giving your full emotional attention to your partner. And that doesn't have to be with the opposite sex. It could be you could be emotionally involved with a parent, with your mother or your father, or a close family friend or a relative, to where if anything goes up, you're always running things by that person and not talking to your significant other. Out of that type of relationship, Miss Kim, do men or women do that more?
You mean to run things by what, a parent?
Well, emotional, not talking to their significant, not talking to your significant other before you talking to your parents and stuff, or your cousin or somebody like that.
Probably women would do that. They will go get the advice of the mother or a cousin or somebody who's been in a relationship longer.
Now, here's a question I got for you on that. And that makes sense. You want to go where you can trust the person that you're talking to. Now, is it important that that person have an idea of what is, of someone who has good advice, or are they bitter, or do they have an ulterior motive?
Well, with women talking to them, you just have to be careful when you're talking to other women because a lot of them do have ulterior motives. Some people don't want you happy. Some people want you to be without, especially if they're without someone.
That makes sense. I've seen that. I've seen that a lot. I've seen that a lot
So
because
personally, I just don't trust a lot of people with my personal business. I got to be really close to you to open up and be able to feel like I trust you and to get advice. And especially with married women, that will probably be my go-to, is someone who's been in it longer that I can
okay.
get advice from, just advice to advise me on certain things.
So let me go to Dabs. Dabs, do you agree with Miss Kim?
Actually, I do agree. And as Jaheim said, the bed is listening. So you come here and talk to me before you go out and talk to all them other people. So you know, I'm
But what
listening.
if let me ask you this, Dab. What if
Yes.
that person is not willing to talk to you and won't open up and have those communicate with you? They run from the hard conversation. Then you have no choice but to go outside.
Well, and then again, if you're going outside of that, then there's something else wrong. That you need somewhere. You guys got to talk it out, or it ain't gonna happen. I mean,
Right. I agree.
you can't keep running out. And sometimes it ain't even that they don't think they will listen, or they think they won't listen, but they will listen, but they ain't telling them because they think they won't listen. They just run out and tell their friends, they run out and tell their mama, uh, whoever, besides talking to their man or their woman.
Yeah. That's why
So
I think counseling, probably somebody who's neutral and don't know either side is the best.
Right. Yeah, when you get into that part and they ain't talking to each other, yeah, counseling will come in handy for that.
okay, that's very interesting. Chocolate Pearl, you had your hand up.
Yes, I wanted to give I don't know if it's considered a testimony, but a story. I was actually a participant in that as well. When my first marriage was failing, I felt that my ex was taking advantage of me, in a sense, wasn't appreciating me, wasn't listening to me. It got to the point where I was always saying, gosh, I would love to have some adult conversation with somebody. So when we went to friend's house, I never wanted to leave per se. I would I'll be the first one there and almost the last person gone, but my ex would always want to leave as soon as we got there. Anyway, it got to the point where he wasn't listening to me. I felt he wasn't appreciating me. And for the first person that listened to me, I kind of attached to them. I got attached to them. So every problem I had, I talked to him. I called him my work husband. But that work husband actually was turning into a non-physical relationship, but it was turning into a relationship to where I was always dependent on having conversations with him and always thinking about calling him and just so we can have conversations for someone to listen to me. So I was guilty of that
You know
because
what they
I
say
felt that
about
I
a
couldn't.
you know what they say
Huh?
about a man's ear to listen to becomes a what? You ride on. You ride in
Yeah,
the rooster
but
rocket.
I was fortunate enough that I didn't jump on that bandwagon with that guy. However, when it came to the point when I realized what I was doing, I tried to communicate better with my spouse, and it still wasn't working. So, with saying that, I've learned a lot throughout my years of going through what I have gone through. And I was just telling one of my good friends that when I lost my job, the first person I felt I needed to call was Dabs. Unfortunately, he didn't answer his phone, and I texted and called about 2 or 3 times. Still didn't happen. So the next person was Kendra. Excuse me, Apple. So, because I needed to talk to someone. But then when I came home, he's the first person I said to him in a sense, but I explained to him I talked to my sister first because I couldn't get in touch with you. So then when I got a job, the first person I called was Dabs. And I wouldn't talk to nobody else until I talked to him. And somebody knocking on the door. Once I had talked to him, then I was able to talk to somebody else. Me saying all of that is when I talked to my friend, I said, I try my hardest not to tell anybody anything until I told him. And she looked at me like, why? I said, because important stuff like that, you need to speak to your spouse about first. Let them know what's going on instead of winding up. Because if you tell somebody else, you may not get a chance to tell him first. Somebody else might have told him. You know what I mean? And then that
Right.
becomes a problem. So I had to learn that. And when you seek um not seek, when you talk to your spouse or your significant other first, it allows that person to comfort you. Now, if that person is not interested in comforting you or, having a conversation with you back, then that's a problem. Like you said, it's a communication problem, and communication is almost the stronghold to a good relationship. So you might need to seek some type of help, but you still should talk to that spouse. So when you go and take that information to someone else, what happens is you become a victim of, like I said, work husband or side person. Then you find yourself always wanting to be with that other person. Then you find yourself doing stuff that you're not supposed to do with that person. And then that becomes a issue because
I
now you're not
agree.
talking to your spouse.